Let's now go to Canada's Justice Minister, who is speaking live. Let's listen in.
But because the process has taken too long. We intend to do this by specifically dealing with the way that time is calculated, by scoping out certain kinds of applications from the calculation of time, by better clarifying when a case is complex for the purpose of the definition in the Jordan decision, to ensure that those which are likely to take longer, potentially including many sexual assault trials, will less often be tied to the lower temporal threshold set by the Supreme Court. And we will be asking the court specifically to consider remedies other than a stay of proceedings. Because I can tell you, it does not feel like justice to survivors of sexual violence when at the end of the process, there is no conviction and a perpetrator, despite not defeating the charges, continues to live in the same community and in some instances the same neighborhood as the victim. We'll be moving forward with certain amendments to the Victims' Bill of Rights as well to ensure that victims have a role to play, that they have information about where they can play a role, and that their voice will inform the judicial process when they're going through the criminal justice proceedings. There is much work ahead. The criminal justice reforms that we are putting on the table today are an important step in the right direction. But I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the extraordinary need to continue to support survivors in communities and the organizations that work with them to advocate for change and to provide meaningful supports. For too long, gender-based violence has been treated as a women's issue. We've been counting on survivors to be their own advocates and leaving the hard work to community organizations who work professionally in this space. Gender-based violence and the exploitation of Canadian children is an issue that should concern all of us. And I hope that you will take from today that the federal government is committed to being a good partner in this cause. And we look forward to receiving the support of all parties in the House of Commons to adopt this bill expeditiously. Thank you, and grand merci.
Thank you to both Ministers Fraser and Valdez. So now we will now move into the question and answer period. If you have your questions, I would invite you to come closer to the mic. And I think, Lola, you'll moderate.
Yes. Hi, one question, one follow-up. Please state your name and outlet.
Hi, Stephanie Taylor with the National Post. This question is for the Minister. It's about Bill C9. I'd like to know why are government MPs going to be supporting the amendment from the Bloc to remove religious defences from the willful promotion of hate in the criminal code when the government has heard loudly from Muslim and Christian and other religious groups that this could insert uncertainty into their teaching and preachings of religious texts and potentially chill their speech?
Thank you. And look, I will address the question head on. I do think it's important that we reflect on the reason we're here today to address a piece of legislation targeting gender-based violence, but I appreciate there are multiple priorities, all of which are important. So let's be clear about what's being proposed and what's not. The amendment that the Bloc is proposing will, in my view, in no way, shape or form, prevent a religious leader from reading their religious texts. It will not criminalize faith, and to suggest otherwise, in my view, is a perversion of the values that the major religions in this country and around the world stand for. As somebody who grew up in the Catholic Church and read Scripture on Sundays my whole life, I can tell you that I don't remember any messages about religion telling you to hate thy neighbor. We are dealing with charges that touch on the willful promotion of hate. That is not a value that the world's major religions stand for, nor would I accept such a change. We've engaged with a number of parliamentary colleagues, including the Bloc members who are seeking to put forward this motion, including members of our own caucus, including on a number of occasions members of different party caucuses. What's important to recognize here is that it's a decision for the committee to determine whether this would go forward. My own role has been to engage with members of different parties to identify whether there is a path forward for the bill, keeping in mind from inception that the Combating Hate Act was actually designed to address discrimination initially against religious communities who are being prevented from taking part in their communities of faith by virtue of attending their religious institutions, places of worship, or community centres designed for specific communities. My view is that we're entertaining different perspectives to figure out what path forward would allow us to make good on the campaign commitment we've made to those communities and to address combating hate more broadly. If we thought there would be amendments that would make it impossible for people to practice their religion, we wouldn't support them. That would be antithetical to the very purpose of the bill. Should there be an opportunity to protect the bill and see its rapid adoption into Canadian law, we'll entertain potential amendments, but this is going to be a decision that members of the committee take.
when
we
it
are
comes
just listening
specifically
to Canada's Justice Minister, who announces changes to our criminal code.